Today is the 28th of July, so it's a month since, best part of a month since the last video that I made. So what we're going to do today is start down here at the lowest point of the garden, the kind of northeast corner, where you can see lots of briars in the actual corner, our blackberry collection. And then we'll have a look, we'll walk up to the highest part of the garden. So we've got the echiums down here still flowering. Started in April, here we are almost the beginning of August, and they're still going. And then if we look up along to the pond and to the stream up beyond it, you can see right in the foreground here we have B Central. So the purple is just here, purple toad flax. Lots and lots of bees on that. You'll hear lots of tractor activity in the background. They're doing silage or something like that. But as I was saying, the purple toadflax covered in bumblebees. And then beyond that, you have some kind of a daisy. And then the kind of orange here is that euphorbia that we saw earlier in the year, but is now beginning to, it's actually turned a lovely kind of autumn colour. So it's the flowers, it's one of those, the flower is just a modified leaf, which I suppose all flowers are, but it's a kind of getting that kind of autumn colour. Up here at the front, 3 weeks ago, this was just about to flower, so it's a Lysimachia, form of Lysimachia. That's a Lysimachia over there as well, and there, but I'm talking about this one here, this kind of candelabra-like flower. I was down here earlier, and there were lots and lots of bumblebees down here at it. So you can see it's this lovely thing, and this is quite a spready thing. Like, this is its first season here. So, there's lots of insect activity over there. So I think it'll do very well, and we should see it spreading a lot. Behind it there, that splash of orange is called a zinnia. That's an annual Adam planted out, grew them from seed and planted them out. So that's actually the first one to flower. They come, around this time, height of the summer. And then you can just see the dahlias starting to flower down there as well, with that lovely geranium growing in between them. So we'll just go down this path. So what we're doing is we're following the outflow from the stream. So the outflow is in all the undergrowth. Here you can see a little pond there beyond the Lysimachia. And we'll come down and cross, ignore the plastic, the work in progress part of it. And we'll cross over here, see the little bridge and the pond. Not an awful lot of water flowing there on the left. So this is the lowermost of 7 small ponds that come down from the larger pond above, all fed by the spring. And then we have this long linear pond, which we call the Grand Canal, which is again a work in progress. That will eventually be fed by a spring. You can see the outflow there, and actually in the bottom, if you look, you can see a frog. I think it's a frog. The new cats caught up with the frog and harassed him. He eventually jumped into this pond, and I think that might be him, having been injured by them. And you can see there's a lot of activity down there. He's actually being eaten, believe it or not, by tadpoles. There's still tadpoles in that pond, so there's a bit of cannibalism going on there. And then over here, it's still in its pot actually, is a lovely water lily. We haven't decided where that's going to go eventually. There were 3 of those in flower one day last week, but just one now. It almost looks like a plastic flower. It's so perfect. Here, I'll show you from the other side of this giant pink thing, which Atam gathered from the side of the road. I forget what it's called. He's got a much better memory for all the names. Okay, so there's the water lily, beautiful thing. Oh, and one of the cats is coming to join us, so he'll be under my feet as we go along. Then here we have the white, it's just beginning to fade. It's called a Persicaria. We have quite a few of those around the garden in different colours. There was a pink one that you might remember from kind of May, June. And then this one is later flowering. We have some lovely red late flowering one up above. Primulas are still flowering. They have a lovely scent. And then let's just go up here and see. Oh, it's gone in. There's a water lily here. It was flowering earlier in the day, but it's gone in. You can see lots of flowers. That's also, we haven't decided on a final location for that one, so it'll be moving eventually. Then here we have a Castletownshend fuchsia, the anemic fuchsia as we call it. We've quite a few of those, so you know, those things are hard to kill. Like we have a bunch of them there by the side of the ditch under that ash tree. You can see them just along here. There's a car coming now. So they'll grow and eventually form a hedge along that path. Well, the sun is coming out, so there you can see up along where the quaking grass is, that's where the stream is coming down there. Okay, let's cross back over, and we've got the white dahlias coming out there. This is a acanthus. We've got quite a few of those around the garden, but none of them has flowered yet. So let's go up and have a look at the main pond. So this is the ordinary Lysimachia, the one that we have lots and lots of. There's a lot of traffic on the road all of a sudden. It's around 5 o'clock, so obviously people are on the move. But let me show you here. I'll go up by the pond. Let me show you this nice water lily that's in flower over here. And I can extend this out so you can have a look. The leaves on that are lovely, kind of variegated, kind of purple and green, and they're smaller than the other water lilies that you can see over here, so makes it kind of a little bit more delicate. It had more flowers last year, and we're wondering, like, we have another water lily over there that's not doing well at all this year, and you see, normally they would be in ponds where they're filling, or they're in rainwater, but this is fed by a spring. So maybe now the fact that the fish is surviving in this water means that it's, as you saw the photograph of him, he was actually just here when I took that photograph, but that means that the water's clean, but maybe it's too limey or something for the water lilies. Have a look at this lovely thing here. This is a water lobelia. So just starting to flower now. And then over here, still in a pot, so it hasn't got its final location yet. But that's a water mint, also just beginning to flower. Okay, let's, there at the margins of so over here we have the waterfall where the spring comes into the pond. The kind of dead looking leaves there we were a bit worried about. That's marsh marigold. But then we saw Monty Don and Gardener's World during the week saying that that's typical of what happens to marsh marigold, and you just need to cut back the brown leaves, and you'll get new green growth. Then in the foreground here, we have a plant that would have caused a lot of mirth in our house when we were children. It's a thing called Botamus. It's supposed to have a scent, but I must admit I don't get it from it. And then we have the two kittens who are going to join us and probably walk under my feet. Okay. The sun's gone in a little. Okay, here we have cotton lavender. Here. This is the one Santoline. We've two different versions of that. This is a kind of pale green version, but then there's a kind of silvery one up above. And then the plant that the kitten is sniffing there is a creeping thyme. And we've two versions of that, which we planted originally about 1 metre apart. There's a white one over on the left side and then a red one here. And the flowers have gone now, but as the flowers go, the red one looks a bit neater than the white. The white looks a little bit dirty with the kind of brownish flowers. Over on this side of the Grand Canal, we have this lovely thing, Rodgersia. And if you just look into, let me see if I can, point it right into the leaf here. You can see a kind of a red core at the leaf. That's a particular variety of Rodgersia called Irish Bronze, and it's got a flower head here that's been there pretty much since it came into leaf in March, April. Over here then we have, well actually along this path we have 3 plants that are kind of flowering in succession. So the one that's just coming into flower at the moment is this bronze-leafed Ligularia that you see in the foreground there with that lovely orange flower here, and then there are more flowers just coming out there. Goes well actually with the Acer, the maple here, brown sugar, which is that colour all year round. You can see that lovely water lily in the background. But anyway, the bronze-leafed Ligularia here is one of 3, and they seem to have a sequence of flowering. So that's the one that's just coming out now. Up here on the left we have the one that flowered earlier in the summer. So its flowers are just finishing. That's it there with this kind of lovely variegated leaf, kind of, what would you call it, denticulated, and then a yellow flower, but you can see they're more or less finished. And that's a Ligularia. It has a Polish name, something like Przewalski or something like that. So that was the first one to go. We saw the bronze leaf one, which is the one flowering at the moment. And then there's another one over here that flowered earlier and is just finishing as well, much bigger. So you can see a leaf almost like coltsfoot, and then these big spikes of yellow flowers coming up along there. So really quite really nice displays from the 3 Ligularias. We'll move away from here because the cats obviously think that the mulch for the path is similar to kitty litter. They haven't got the memo that that's actually the path and not the loo. So we'll go up along here. Excuse me. We've got a pink hydrangea that's flowering. Excuse me. And then at the base of that there's a lovely bluegrass Sisyrinchium. Normally has a yellow flower, but that only comes out when it's sunny. But that is seeding all over the place. You can see little baby plants popping up everywhere, which is great. It's literally like as in the American bluegrass music, like it's from the Americas, and it does have a bluish tinge. More Lysimachia. I'll show you one up in the other garden that's here that we tried this Chelsea chop on. So we cut it back in May and it made a big difference. You'll see that up above. That's actually a hosta called guacamole that has a fragrant flower. So it's just beginning to flower. It'll be up in a little while. You saw that lily type thing 3 weeks ago. It had a flower like a ship's funnel. The slugs have actually got to the first one of that just here, there, and that's going to multiply by producing lots of little bulbs. And this is another Ligularia, a creeping one this time, the lovely yellow flower with a red heart. Okay, we'll move away from all the blooming tractors and their trailers bobbing along. Let's see hostas with their in flower there, and then we'll come up along the stream, all hidden by lady's mantle, Alchemilla mollis, and the monkey flower, Mimulus. And look what's here. So this is one of two myrtles that we brought up from Castle Townsend, and this one is only in the ground 12 months, so it's not still at an immature stage. But over here we have one that's been in the ground for wrong way, a couple of years, and you can see that it's really flowering. This is the best we've seen it flower so far. Bees and other insects love it, and it's absolutely full of blossom this year. At the base of it, we have a lovely hosta called Maraschino cherry, with these lovely purple flowers. And actually that's next to the Safi there, that's another version of the same thing that we were able to split from the original. And then around the corner here we have my favorite hosta, one that's called Purple Heart. This is it here, and you can see the flower heads are just beginning to form, so they'll be up in another couple of weeks. And maybe here, if we look at the Castle Townsend myrtle from here, you can see the size that it has gotten to. Beautiful cinnamon coloured bark, and then lots of blossoms. This is a bed that we just did in the last few weeks. Oops, wrong way. Here. So at the back of it there we have Hydrangea Annabelle. That's a hydrangea that doesn't, it's not a shrub-like one. It dies down completely in the winter. Then in front of that we have an oak tree, which is really taking off. I'd say in another couple of years that'll be really quite large. And then over here on the right we have a kind of petrol blue hosta. So that space will kind of come into its own. Ignore the works in progress at the back there. That wheelbarrow has been there all summer. And then over here we have more of that hydrangea Annabelle there. Then we have, and that's got white flowers, you can see. Then we have your white flowered camellia, and then a pink flowered camellia called Dr. King. And behind that then we have this hedge. We didn't plant it, but it's been there forever, but we're deciding to clip it, to make it look more formal, as a kind of juxtaposition to the wild garden behind it. Here's the pond that we started work on at the beginning of the summer, and kind of work has gone into abeyance. And then the steps with the contorted hazel in the middle of it, and that is actually perking up and really doing well finally, because it was in a pot for years and years after we moved it down. Like we bought that plant 20 years ago in Dublin, and moved it down here. There's the meadow down along. We'll have a quick walk down there. Not an awful lot of flowers, mostly grasses in the meadow. It's all in shade now. Nice hosta here in flower. And then what we have along here, actually some more of those annuals. So there's a zinnia just opening there. That'll be orange. But what will be here in the next few weeks are the dahlias. So you can see one just here beginning to open. And these are all white dahlias along here. We've got that lovely Japanese maple here and more dahlias. And then the kind of general view of the pond and down beyond. The trees there are, so we've got a walnut, another walnut, a crabapple, and here the mulberry, which is really kind of coming into its own at this stage. Actually, that big hosta there is great. That's called Empress Wu, and that's already flowered, like the flowers are gone over for quite a few weeks now. Okay, we'll come back up to the ramp past the contorted hazel, and this is the gap that we made at the beginning of the whole COVID thing, and then we planted this clematis here going up the tree. So next year it'll be better. It's one of those later flowering clematis where you can cut it right back at the end of the season, but it's got those lovely unusual flowers for a clematis, almost tulip-like, and this is called Clematis Princess Diana. And then so they're around this side, we have them facing the sun. It's a lovely thing. Let's see, we'll go into the yard. Oh yeah, you gave us Mr. Conway's rose, which we had in a pot for years. We just planted it this summer right there, because it's going to be a shrub up against the wall, and the red roses look really great against the white walls. I'll just deadhead that one there. And then here by the cattle crush we have our Echium forest, really just finishing up now in terms of flowering. And I won't even attempt to get in there, but we have the fig tree there by the gable wall, and you can see quite sizable figs from here. So it's been a reasonably warm summer, so I think we should have a decent crop of figs. And we'll just have a quick walk into the yard. So that bed in front was great earlier in the summer when you had all the alliums, and you know they're still there, giving it a bit of structure. We've got a pink hydrangea there on the left, but then here in the front we have the later flowering alliums, the so-called spherocephalon, the spear-headed ones. A lovely purple colour on those, and of course the bees love them. Then this bed that we did there at the beginning of the summer, at the base of the ash tree, is kind of growing in well. We have the variegated hosta there in flower. The lovely rose there at the back, we were originally calling it Princess Margaret because we thought that's what it was called, but it was I objected to calling anything after that jade. But anyway, I think I told you we then discovered that it's actually Crown Princess Margareta, which is the Queen of Denmark, which is much better. And then we planted that climbing rose, the Rambling Rector, at the beginning of the summer, and like it was about a foot high when I went in, and it must be 6 foot high at this stage. So next year that will flower through the ash tree, which will be really nice. And then at the front of the house, whoops, let me turn around. We've just got pots with roses, bay leaf, or bay tree rather, a little bit of mint, some begonias, that trefoil here that's just coming into flower is called oxalis. Actually, we made a mistake with some of the begonias, like that peach one is lovely, but the red one here should really be in a hanging basket, because to appreciate the flower you really have to see it from below, which you don't really do in here. Okay, one last quick thing while the cats are not following me, because we don't want the cats to go out onto the road. We'll just go down the laneway here. You can see I'll make a second video where we go up there, but let's go down the lane and see the kiwi. Oh, Sugar, he's coming with us. Yeah, we'll keep going. Here's the well. Maybe I can distract him with something there. Okay, this is all very overgrown. So that triffid there is the kiwi, and let me see if I can find any fruit on it. Gosh, it was easier earlier in the summer. We had a kiwi last year, so we're hoping for more this year. You know what I'll do is I'll break here and I'll see if I can find any kiwi fruit and then start again from there. Okay.